tell people that for the Q&A that they can write their questions down, but we'll address them at the end.
Great. I think we're live now.
We are, yeah. Okay, cool. Hello, everybody, and welcome to No False Choices, which is the second talk in the Make an Impact series. My name is Spike, and I'm a third-year Geography and International Development student at Sussex University, and I have the pleasure of moderating this very exciting talk. Make an Impact, I think we're just going to wait for a few more people to join before we introduce it properly, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, cool. Brilliant. Yeah, so I'm Spike, as I said, and I'll be moderating. Make an Impact is an initiative which is set up by my wonderful co-year Aishna Shah, whereby industry experts such as Stéphane are invited to discuss their career journey in order to inspire us as to how we can make an impact through our careers. Today's talk will feature Stéphane Zahrai, who is a stellar example of someone who has made an impact through his career. Since graduating from Toulouse Business School, Stéphane has dedicated his career to the advancement of humanity and society through his passion for technology, which has led him to become product director at Fluidly, an artificial intelligence fintech startup which is based in London. As a champion of change, Stéphane has worked at a variety of companies and startups and will advocate for the skills he has gained through working with different companies throughout this talk. Stéphane has long aligned his personal values and his professional life, and that's allowed him to become the pioneer of his career. So stick around for the talk because he'll be explaining how you can do the same. The second part of the talk will feature a Q&A, a question and answer session, where everyone will get the chance to ask Stéphane some questions. But of course, if you have any burning queries or questions that you don't want to forget, just feel free to put them in the chat or in the comment section, and we'll address them at the end of the talk, at the beginning of the Q&A session. Also, I just wanted to quickly premise that, of course, any inappropriate comments, hate or discrimination will not be tolerated, and that by signing up for this event, you have agreed to comply with the Sussex Student Union's zero tolerance policy. So, without further ado, I'll pass the floor to you, Stéphane.
Thank you very much, Spike. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this talk. Really, really kind introduction, I have to say. Just before we start, I just wanted to kind of thank Aishna, Spike, and the Make an Impact team. It's wonderful to put together this kind of event, and always lovely to share the experience and also exchange with students, with young people, and also kind of discuss kind of further how to make an impact in your career. So I'm gonna start sharing my screen, and let's roll. Great, fantastic. So hopefully we're gonna wait a few seconds that everything loads, and we're gonna start right now. Great. Okay, no false choices. Sync your career with your values. This is a talk that really, when Aishna reached out to me, I took really at heart, because I think it's really important to think about, as young professionals, young students, how to make choices in your career that are going to define who you are and define what impact you will have around you at work and in your life as well. And so for me, what was really important to you is to kind of discuss with you what it means to kind of sync your career with your values and why it's absolutely important. So my name is Stéphane. I'm currently the product director of an artificial intelligence financial technology company called Fluidly in London. I'll explain a little bit more what we do there. But my experience really, it's 7 years as a product leader across business to business and business to consumer web and mobile applications. I've worked at Fluidly, Debut, JudoPay, and other companies. I've led and delivered about 30 web and mobile projects. And I'm the co-founder of Soulbytes, which is an initiative that I kind of want to speak to you a bit further today as well, as an example of how to make an impact, how to try to make an impact, of course. In terms of kind of my experience as a student, I studied at Toulouse Business School in France, south of France, and I studied a master's in management. And then had the chance to participate in an MBA program of the Indian Institute of Management of Ahmedabad, and I'll have a chance as well to speak to you a bit more about it in a second. So, what is a product manager? First of all, I think that's a question that we get a lot. So, as I mentioned, I've been a product manager for the past 7 years, and really, product management sits at the heart of 3 different areas of expertise, which are user experience, which is called UX in the field, technology and engineering, and business. And so product management arose, let's say, in the last decade, like really dramatically. Why? Because what we're seeing is a lot of digital products, physical products being launched, and that need to be managed through different stages of their life, right? So a product that is just launched is going to require different ways of being managed than a product that is growing or is at maturity. So where it's very important to have is product managers that are going to be basically leading the product development, so the direction of a particular product. That could be an app, for example, that could be an app like Instagram or TikTok, or that could be a physical product, of course. And so really kind of leading the development of the product, understanding the needs of the people that are going to use that product, and kind of trying to scale as much as possible the impact of the company through the solution that is being developed. So this is what a product management is. And so along the last, let's say, decade, right? Like, so that's something that kind of is really important to me, where I was able to kind of create a sort of mission statement for the type of person I wanted to be at work, for the type of work I wanted to do. And that's something that I really kind of recommend everyone, is to kind of think about what's your mission statement. You know, we see that a lot with a lot of different companies. You know, they have those flagship, let's say, mantras or slogan. What is yours really? And I was able to, across, you know, the last 10 years, really kind of think about, through my experiences as well, it wasn't just instant, but think about what truly kind of where I saw myself and what impact I wanted to drive. And so this is, for me, the most important. That's what's been driving my career, is creating products that help individuals live better lives through a deep understanding of their needs, right? And so some people are going to be generalists, some people are going to be specialists and specific to a particular cause that are going to carry forward. And for me, it's really kind of a more generalistic, let's say, view of impact, and something that really has been driving my career choices, and also how I am at work, which I think is really important. So this has driven me to kind of work at different companies. Here are just some of the, let's say, my career highlights, if you will. So first company, and we'll speak about it in a second as well, it's Debut, which is essentially a mobile app for students, available in the UK. So I invite you all to download it if you need to find a job, an internship, or anything. So I was head of product at Debut, and really kind of the idea behind Debut was, how do we level the playing field when it comes to, for students to discover opportunities? How do we make sure that everyone has a chance to attend employer events, to be interviewed by employers, without having to look at, you know, the background of the particular students, or going beyond just the traditional, let's say, academics and kind of typical profiles of students. So really going deeper than that. And so Debut was really kind of this product and app that has been designed to level the playing field and offer more opportunities for those that are not necessarily receiving those opportunities. So really kind of trying to let's say, break that injustice from the ground up. The second product I've been working at is Freely. So Freely is I'm not sure we're gonna need it straight away, but it's essentially a tool to help business entrepreneurs manage better their money by understanding when actually they're gonna run out of money, and when they're gonna have to think about potential new opportunities. So we're using artificial intelligence. So it's a big word in technology, of course, but it's essentially looking at patterns in the financial information of each businesses to understand, okay, at what point they will have a problem, at what point there is a risk, and where there will be some opportunities for them. So this is where I'm currently product director. And here really it's about helping small, medium business, owners to understand better how their business is performing, and focusing more on the growing aspect of their business rather than kind of not having clarity and losing sleep as to kind of how their business is doing. So that was really important. And the last kind of initiative I wanted to speak about, like this is live as well, and this is something that I'm doing outside of work, but I also consider work, is that last year, some friends and myself, we co-founded a platform called Soulbytes, which is essentially during lockdown, the first lockdown in London during COVID, we were thinking about how do we bring people together to have meaningful conversation around specific topics that are principles that we're not necessarily thinking about on a day-to-day basis, and really taking the time of lockdown, of COVID-19, etc., to kind of deep dive into some of those concepts, such as justice or unity. And we've had fantastic results so far. We had a lot of engagement, and that's really great. And I want to show you a little bit more how kind of I've been able to take away things from my career and bring them to kind of, let's say, extra professional activities like Soulbytes. So in my career, I had a chance to kind of work on products that have, had a lot of users. So I've been working on products, and I have the chance to kind of affected about 200,000 plus users across my career. And that's actually a huge responsibility when you think of it, when you're actually shaping products that are going to define interaction of more than 200,000 people, for example. That's a lot of responsibility in your decision process. And that's really important to kind of think about how values affect your decision process, how your purpose affect the decision process, and how actually you really try to create impact on that. Okay. And for me, and so I think this is the purpose of this topic, is really to tell you that impact is driven by your purpose. And I want to kind of show you and illustrate this through a few things that happen in my career. So let's rewind a little bit and let's speak a little bit about myself and where I started essentially. So as I mentioned to you, I started my my studies in France, in Toulouse Business School. And at the time, I remember I wasn't sure about what I wanted to do. And I went into kind of these generalist studies, and I went into master's in management in a business school in France. And then I had the opportunity through my studies to go and study abroad in India, in Ahmedabad. And Ahmedabad had been, so in India, which is one of the top schools in India, had been such a wonderful experience for me, because for the first time, I came to the realization that values could be part of business frameworks and how business operates. So on the right-hand side, you can see me here, I think hoping quite younger face, of course. And I'm with the ex-president of India and Anil Gupta, who's a very kind of famous teacher in India as well. And so really what I realized was that it was possible to mix personal values, personal beliefs, with business frameworks and how business operate as well. And that was, like, for me, one of the first slap I had in my career, right? One of the first shock I had, because at the time I wasn't sure that this was feasible, that this was possible. But when I was going to lessons, to class, when I was looking at case studies and kind of topics we were looking at, we were not only looking at it through the angle of pure business application. We were looking at it through the angle of how can we provide more to the communities. How can we deliver more impact to the communities and to the individuals? And how can we bring more about kind of some principles that are really important? And for this, I will be eternally grateful for India, because that really gave me this realization that I kept with me in my career later on. Then after I finished my studies in India, I came back to France, to Spain, and then I started my career in London as a consultant for a technology company. So I started my career in technology, and this was purely an accident. So accidents are great, and you'll have many of those in your journey. And then slowly but surely, I started discovering a new, let's say, world in London. A world where there were a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of young people and older people creating their own companies, seeing a way they could bring about impact through technologies by building, products that would be specifically designed to kind of have a specific impact for specific communities. And that really kind of intrigued me. So I had the chance to actually be part of a consultancy company that founded a company called Geniac. And that's where I started becoming a product manager. And we're very lucky to sell the business after a few years to Grant Thornton, for those who knows, who was a big accountancy firm in the UK. So mixed, let's say, results at the end of the day. Like, it was sort of a success, but there were also kind of failures in that, and we learned a lot. But that was really my first experience as a, let's say, a tech entrepreneur, and also part of the founding team that was able to kind of bring about a product to fulfill the needs of a specific community and bring it to a level where we were able to have traction. So from really zero to kind of thousands and thousands of people using it. And then my career carried on in terms of kind of product management. I went on to work at JudoPay, payment services company. I became head of product at Debut, and now I'm product director here at Philly. But I wanted to speak a little bit more about London, because that's where my second slap, let's say, arrived, when I felt I had my second realization. My second realization, and maybe some of you might feel it, is that I became aware of these opposing forces that are kind of maybe prevalent in our vision of the world today. And when we look at things where people are opposing some concepts to the other. So it's either your personal values or money. It's either your purpose or success. It's either your private life or career. And this is something that really I was really interested in the sense that I never felt that so strongly than in London. And I'm sure it's the same case in a lot of different places, and maybe some of you must be feeling the same way. Let us know in the comments if you feel the same way. But really kind of, I didn't feel that this was the right thing. And I remember once in my career, I had this opportunity to move to a company, and I accepted the job. But I accepted the job more for the money at the time. I was seeing the growth and the money, and I was not necessarily in love with the product, but the money kind of spoke to me in the sense I was like, oh, this is great. This is gonna give me success, give me growth, and seems to be like the right choice. But as soon as I took the decision, I can tell you that after a few months, I was miserable. And that's because I ignored something that was really core to myself, and that were my personal values and my personal beliefs. And this is what I'm trying to say today with you with this talk, is how important and critical it is to ensure you remain authentic and that your values are translated into how you're taking decisions and who you choose to work with and where you choose to work. And that's going to be very, very important. So what I'm suggesting, and that's what I've been trying to do in the past 10 years, and I mean, more recently, of course, is to look at this a bit more differently and thinking about putting your values and beliefs first, and really thinking about, what do you stand for, what you're passionate about, and thinking then about like what purpose you want to bring about to realization, what vision you have for yourself, but also for the world, for your community. And that's going to be really important, because that's going to be fueled by your values and your beliefs. And then integrating this into kind of your decision-making process that is, at work, like how you decide to work on a particular project or approach a particular problem, for example, or even choosing the type of career that you want to choose, right? Choosing the different type of jobs. So really thinking about this, is that aligned to my purpose? Is that aligned to my value and beliefs? And then kind of the flywheel, let's say, a positive flywheel effect would be to kind of, once you're taking decision with values and beliefs in mind and purpose in mind, then the actions that you take and the exploration that you take in there on the back of that are going to reinforce your values and beliefs, maybe readjust them. And that's, the way I see it, like this kind of continuous loop in which you can really kind of guide your career, but also how you're living your life. And that's really, really important to kind of integrate those two aspects, I believe, and to try to transcend the framework, which we've always been told, which is it's either one thing or the other. And I know it's really hard, and I know that there are some situations that are a bit tough, and sometimes you need to make, there are trade-offs and decisions that you need to take, but really it's about coming back to what you believe, what are your values and your purpose. So the second thing that happened in London was that I discovered how technology could really shape people's life, how technology could really drive certain behavior, positive and also negative, right? Technology is a means, it's not an end, and that's something that I really discovered and I fell in love with. And the way I fell in love with it is just to see how much technology as a platform, as a tool, could help people live better lives or have a positive impact on some communities. Of course, there are plenty of examples that will show that technology can also be very, very negative. And that's where actually technology doesn't become a means, but rather an end, right? When they're actually trying to capture your attention at all costs, so that you are completely engaged and addicted to them. I'm also myself very addicted to technology for sure. But that's something that really is important to think about, is that technology is a means. And so with technology, you can bring about positive things and you can also bring about negative things. But what I fell in love really genuinely with technology and it as a tool was this aspect of how you can fulfill a need, bring about a solution, but starting really from the individuals and the community you want to serve first, right? And so it starts here on the top left-hand side. And it starts by understanding the needs of the individuals and communities that you wanna work for. What are their needs? What are their motivation? What are their objectives? What do they wanna do that they can't do right now? And then in technology and the way we build product today as product managers in many companies, it's about identifying the biggest issue. What's like the biggest need right now that is underserved that will really make a change for that individual, that community. And then we get into the process of testing, refining solutions. I hope there are some entrepreneurs right now on the call, but that's a fantastic part of the process when you are able to kind of create, test solutions with your audience, with the individuals in the community, and then fulfill the most important need at the end. I'm not saying that every kind of solution will be successful. This is like a continuous loop. Sometimes you fail in that process, but really kind of what it is to take on here is this this kind of incredible way of looking at technology as a means to fulfill the most important need of an individual and a community. And that's something that I really kind of throughout my career I was able to come to this realization, right? And so this is what drove me to kind of work in those different companies that I'm showing you in there. Debut is probably one of the best company I've ever worked with. Why? Because it was completely aligned to my core values, to my principles, and kind of bringing about more justice in kind of helping students discover better opportunities and not having to be excluded from certain opportunities, which I thought was terrible. And leveling the playing field here is very, very important. And so we worked really hard, and the company is still going right now and strong. But we worked really hard as to kind of understanding, what are the needs of the community of the students, what opportunities do we want to see, like how do we bring them more, opportunities to them, etc. And the app really kind of really worked really, really well, and is working very well. And that's because really it's all about the end user, the community here. And that was, for me, a great opportunity to align my core beliefs, my principles with the vision of the company and with the principle of the company. Similar with Freely as well, looking at how can you really truly help people identify what are the biggest pain points for their business, right? So that they can go on and create more value for their companies, right? As a business owner, when you start a business, you don't start a business for all the finance side of things. You start a business because you want to put to the world an idea, a dream that you have. And so what really kind of attracted me with the idea of Freely was, how can we help those business entrepreneurs really kind of realize their dream while also understanding where their company is at and what's the position of their company from a financial standpoint, so that they can survive and they can go on and creating value to the world, to the community that they're serving. And then finally, Soulbytes. So Soulbytes is a specific kind of project I want to speak to you about, because I also want to say a few things around how you have the opportunity as well when you work to have to approach your life as a coherent whole. So what you believe and what you do at work, you can also do that outside of work. And so Soulbytes is genuinely an initiative that we started with a few friends last year to kind of bring, and using technology to bring people together, have meaningful interactions and meaningful conversation around topics that are currently, very, very important, like, oneness, unity, justice, hope, all those concepts that can be very abstract, but thinking about like how important they are in our daily lives. And that's something that we really wanted to bring about. And the reason why we brought about this specific solution was because we recognized that within the community of young professionals and people just in general, there was kind of a lack of place where you could have those meaningful conversations and connect with people over some of those principles that we talked about. So we started with an Instagram page. We're now leveraging technology to have this conversation online. We're a community of 700 plus people around the world, and we're having fortnightly Zoom conversation with more than 300 kind of registered users and 50 people per discussion. So I'm just going to show you a video. So I'm just going to stop sharing right now, just to kind of introduce Soulbytes a little bit more, and then we'll carry on. I hope everyone is okay so far.
It's been great so far. You're speaking so eloquently and very clearly.
Thank you, Spike. That's very kind. All right, I'm gonna share my a video to give you kind of a bit more of an overview on Soulbytes. So a few days ago, we launched Soulbytes, and Soulbytes is essentially a space for our friends to come together and reflect on a meaningful topic on a weekly basis. So the rules of the game are simple. It's a weekly theme, daily quotes, and on the weekend, an online Zoom conversation for everyone to join in and share their thoughts.
Someone in the discussion today mentioned that a person in the village over from me is as equidistant as somebody in Hong Kong. And when you take that into account, how much geography plays into your relationships, would have not come to that observation had we not spoken together all around the world in one chat.
Friend is having someone you can be vulnerable with. Soulbytes has done such a great job in helping me realize the potential of true friendship, how to practically strengthen my friendships.
So invite your friends, invite your family, invite your neighbors. Let's connect, although we have to be socially distant. All the details are on our Instagram account. Great. A little bit less hair back in the days than today, obviously. Let me share back my screen. Perfect. Fantastic. So really, by the way, I invite you, for those that are interested, of course, to follow Soulbytes on Instagram and follow kind of the community and what we're doing in there. But really kind of why I wanted to show you this is because, you have an opportunity as well to create impact at work, but also outside of work, and living a coherent lives where you're not looking at, this kind of fragmented view in your life is going to be very, very important. And I think it's really important that you get rid of those maybe notions that are opposing the two, and think about like, I can create impact at work and I can also create impact outside of work, right? That it doesn't need to be one or the other. And so what really kind of helped me in as I was preparing the talk and trying to understand, how to communicate that, was really kind of thinking about this. What I'm showing you right now on the screen is, what are your values? What are your beliefs? How do you kind of strengthen your purpose and find a purpose, something you're passionate about that is fueled by your values and beliefs, that guides your decisions either at work or outside of work, and kind of lead you to act or to explore opportunities. And then I can tell you for sure it strengthens your values and belief and your purpose as well, and really kind of help you kind of understand better where you can drive impact. But I think that once all of this is kind of strengthened and synchronized, this is where you can truly have an impact. And I think it's okay to kind of in the beginning of your career to kind of try this as many times as possible, because there will be some mistakes, of course, but you can always refine that process, right? Like growth is constant. and you have this opportunity to kind of continuously embed your values in your decision-making process. One thing that I wanted to talk about is like, if you think about a company which has like the vision, its principles, takes decisions based on principles, and then have processes and take action, etc. One thing that is going to be really, really most impactful for you is thinking about when you're adding yourself to it, whether or not your values and your purpose align to the principle and the vision of a company, right? Either that you're creating the company or you're researching any companies you want to work for, any organization you want to work for. I think that this is really, really key. When you have the 4 things in here, the 4 concepts in synchronization together, this is where you'll be able to drive the best impact, because you are completely aligned to what the company is also trying to achieve, to its vision, to the principles, and this actually translates in better impact. So really, when you're thinking about these opportunities that you have in front of you, and when you think about how can I drive impact, think about this as well. Like, is the company aligned to my purpose? Is the vision aligned to my purpose? Are the principles aligned to my values and beliefs? And I think it's very sort of easy to look at this, when you research a company, look at what they're doing, look at the people that are working in there, what they're doing as well. Because oftentimes we also, oppose those 2 things. It's the company or it's ourselves, right? It's the organization or it's, our private life. But I think you gotta get rid of these preconceived notions so that you can truly embed these and drive impact in your career. Finally, we're about to finish in a moment, but I just wanted to say this as well, that you've got limited energy, and that's not something that is negative. You have plenty of energy, I know that, but it's limited. So it's going to be really important that when you make the choices in your career and what you want to do, that you really think about where you want to make a difference. What are kind of the causes you're passionate about, and finding balance as well. Balance is really, really important. It's been underrated for a very, very long time, but you've seen, I'm sure, in the past year, like how many people are speaking about balance. But because balance is important, not only in our work and life balance, but balance as to kind of the values that we have and the values of the company, the purpose of the company and the purpose of your purpose as well. So really make the choices on the basis of your values, on the basis of your purpose as well, and then kind of guide your decisions based on this. And finally, just to kind of leave you with a few kind of takeaways, and then I'm happy to kind of have a conversation, is impact is really about your purpose and your capacity to act. And remember that's having purpose is great, but then what is important is to take action. And you can take action, and you can scale that impact of the action if you work in companies that are aligned to your personal values, to your personal beliefs. That's really important. Second thing is get rid of false choices and this kind of preconception that it's either one or the other. Yes, sure, sometimes there are going to be trade-offs. I'm happy to talk about those trade-offs, of course, but really kind of go back, check back with your values and your beliefs, check back with your purpose, with your vision of the world, because that's going to be really important. Like I told you, I made some decisions in the past. I regretted them instantly because I didn't check them or align them to my personal values and my personal beliefs. And I was miserable. I was really miserable. And I know a lot of my friends that, had similar experiences, but that's really, really important. The third thing is take a posture of learning, because impact is also about learning. When you're going to make mistakes, learning from your mistake, you're going to fail, learn from your failures. Others are going to fail next to you, learn from them, listen to them, adopt this kind of really important posture of learning as you go through your career and as you're working, because this will help you refine as well the way you're taking decisions, your values and your beliefs as well. And then the last point I wanted to close in with is be authentic. Like, never compromise on yourself. Never compromise on your core values and your principles and your purpose. It's going to be really, really important. Clayton Christensen, which is a very famous, let's say, management theorist, did say something that really kind of helped me in the last few years, which is you should choose one metric you would want to be judged in your life and align to that one metric. And I think that if we were to think that way, imagine the type of decisions that we would take. Clayton Christensen, just to kind of put it into context, is someone that has done many great things for the economy, for management theory. But for him to say that above all the things that he's done and contributed to management theory, etc., what he's saying is that the most important thing is to choose that one metric you want to be judged by, and remain authentic. So really, that would be my kind of closing word for today's talk before I take any question or we speak about the talk. Remain authentic. It will really drive impact in your career and in your life. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Stéphane. That was really insightful, and very apt, at least to the context of sort of me and my peers who are graduating from university soon, and it's quite daunting out there, sort of thinking that we're going to have to make money someday, and thinking that we might have to compromise our personal values. But as you've just shown, you clearly don't. It's a false dichotomy. So thank you. And lots of people in the chat agree. I mean, you've had brilliant feedback. We're going to open the Q&A session now. We've got a question from Eden Devita Shankar, which says, how did you go about writing your personal mission statement? Where did you find motivation or inspiration for it?
Thanks, Eden, for that wonderful question. I think the way I thought about it was, as I was kind of thinking about my personal values and beliefs, I was really trying to think, like, writing down, what are the things that really motivate me to wake up in the morning? Where do I want to make a change? What are people that are inspiring me? What are companies and organizations that are inspiring me? And through that, really, I was able to kind of think about, oh, there is some sort of coherence or alignment that is coming out of this. And I was able to kind of write these kind of personal statements at the beginning. And it might change, right? It might change to something more specific. For the moment, it's been more generalist because I haven't been able to find that one thing that really truly kind of interests me to the point that I want to become a specialist in. And that's why I stayed a generalist. But I would say that, always check back to that personal statement. You might have one today, but it might change, in the next couple of years. It might change after your first experience. So also trust the process and have fun, in the process as well, as you're kind of climbing your career ladder and growing into a professional.
Great. Thanks for answering that question. Another question's come through from Ella saying, do you see any major changes coming in your field that students should be aware of, so they might be able to better prepare for their careers?
I think that more and more, it's a really good question. Thanks, Ella, for asking it. I think one of the things that I would say is that there is the importance of understanding what impact you can drive in your field, and which organization will help you kind of scale that impact that you want to deliver. In terms of changes that I would say in our field is that there are just so many trends. There's just so many ways you can help. And I think what will be really, really important for students is to really research where are, when you think about a particular cause that you're passionate about, researching who are the trendsetters, who are the people that are really at the forefront and pioneering kind of new processes or new products or new services or new ways of thinking, and try to kind of embed yourself as much as possible with these people and learn as much as possible from them. And I think that would be something that, if I was to come back to 10 years ago when I was thinking about starting my career, I would do differently. It's really like looking at who are the people right now that are really aligned to the way I'm thinking about the world or about a particular cause, and trying to kind of be as close as possible to these people. And don't hesitate to reach out as well. Sometimes you can get to speak to them a little bit more, understand how they came about their own personal statement, and how they would as well kind of advise you as to kind of how you can make an impact in your career.
You've in a way you've anticipated some more of the questions which are coming through. A lot of the questions are sort of centered around a question from Inez and from Eden, stating how sort of you decide which company, how you identify which company aligns with your values, and how any advice that you'd have for anyone trying to do the same.
For sure. I think, like, I mean, what advice I would give you is like research the companies, look at what they're doing. Of course, there are like information on their website, there are YouTube videos you can watch on them, etc. But truly try to understand what value do they want to bring about to the world. So you have like a lot of information on this, usually on companies, and great companies, either small or big, always have like kind of that vision tab on their website. So really kind of dissect it, analyze it. Does that resonate? Does that feel right to you or not? The second thing is, the company is made up of individuals, right? So the company is not like this like big black box thing that is just alive because it's a company. It's alive because it's made up of individuals, and the sum of these individuals make the company. So what I would also kind of recommend you is speak to people that are working in those companies. Look at how actually they are as well. Are they aligned to your purpose, your personal beliefs, values? How do they feel about the vision of the company they're working at, right? Oftentimes you see that some people will be like, maybe disengaged, not motivated by the same things, right? But it's really important that as you're looking for, your opportunities, you understand as well the reality of the company through understanding the people that are working in this company, and what change they want to bring to the world as well. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, definitely. At least. It satisfied me, at least. Question to ask us as well. Eunice was just wondering if you could elaborate a little bit more on choosing one metric to align to, and further also, I just like to add to that question about scope as well, about how to define how big you want to, like the depth of the impact that you want to make within that metric.
That's Eunice and Spike. Very, very, very good question. I mean, I still think that this is something that I'll be refining, right? Like, I think choosing that one metric you want to align is just like, if today someone was asking you, how can I measure your impact? Like, what would be your answer to that question? And I think this is what I mean by choosing one metric to align on, is that today, like, if you would want to be measured on one thing, what would it be? Would it be, how you help people? Would it be how you've transformed like a specific field, etc., etc.? Like, try to think about, how you would want to be measured quantitatively, so to speak. And I also recommend you to actually read this essay from Clayton Christensen, which is on Harvard Business Review, which is how to measure success in your life. I think that's the title. If I can find it, I will post it in the comment section. But that's really actually a great way to think about choosing that one metric. In terms of scope and impact, I don't think you should limit yourself. Like, I think limiting yourself, don't limit yourself. Like, of course, be realistic, as much as possible, but impact is not about, it needs to be informed then by experience, right? So as soon as you start, you can refine also your expectations. You can refine as well, like how, what type of impact you can really bring about, right? Like, so for example, think about Soulbytes, which is one thing that we do. Of course, we would want to do 1 million people engaging with the platform, and having those meaningful conversations. But really what really is more important to us at this stage is that even small number of people have meaningful interactions, have meaningful conversation, and take away something that they can keep and apply in their daily lives. And I think that this, for me, is already way more impactful than anything else. And then after, you can start thinking about scale, right? But think big, start small. That's something that we see a lot in startups. Think big, start small. I would definitely apply that as well in your own thinking about like how you want to build your career.
Great, thanks for that. Now some questions about challenges. So Lottie's asked a very interesting question about how you approach a challenge of a person or a company that you're working with saying or doing something that fundamentally undermines your values.
Yeah, that's such a, Lottie, that's such a great question as well. I mean, I have plenty of examples of these things, right? Like, sometimes you'll get it right, sometimes you'll get it wrong. I think oftentimes we forget to go back to principles and the fundamentals, and we get stuck into that one conversation, how we're approaching, for example, a problem, how we're deciding on a specific thing or process, and we forget about actually going back to the principle and starting from there. And I think what I would maybe, I mean, there's no one way to have that conversation or to overcome these challenges, but what I would say is definitely helpful is if you can bring the conversation to the level of principle and start from there rather than kind of that point of contention or that point of challenge, right? So that you can always check back and see, okay, how, we believe in this, or this is the purpose, or this is, the core belief, are we actually doing this right now? What do we think, and I think approaching those conversations, those challenges in the most consultative way, make the conversation more constructive. And that's actually, that's what you want to do, right? That's really important, that you are as constructive as possible. So make sure you check back with the people as well, the principles, the values beforehand.
Great. Now a question about finding the mission purpose and finding projects. So Lois has asked, did you find it difficult to find a project or team that aligned with your values? Sorry if I've butchered your name, by the way, Lois, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I made mistakes. I think sometimes I didn't go further than, what I mentioned to you earlier, maybe getting to know the people that work in those companies, how they're taking decisions, what really motivates me, what motivates them in the field. Definitely. So I think it can be hard, but, with experience and with trying, you get to ask the right question. You get to kind of understand what for you are things that are uncompromisable. You can't compromise on those beliefs or on those values, and make sure that you actually investigate, the companies, the people that are working in, and understand that from them. Is that something that they care about or not really? Try to dig deeper, right? And I think it's really important that you don't scratch the surface, force yourself to go even deeper, because, to really have an impact, being in an organization that is fully aligned to or close to be aligned to your personal vision, your personal beliefs, is gonna help you really increase your capacity to act and your capacity to bring about an impact. And that's really, really important.
Sure, great answer, thanks. Now about how to find your purpose. So a few of the questions, such as that of Alia, are asking how you find your purpose and whether it's the same as your passion. And just to synergize that with the question that Eden asked earlier, whether you have any advice for us graduating university students as to how to find these purposes and passions. Yeah,
it's I think the $1 million question here. I don't know if purpose equals passion. I think purpose has a more elevated sense to passion, and it's about really kind of thinking about what's that thing that can really guide you in your career, but also in your private life, right? And I think purpose is that kind of guiding principle in your life. And so finding it's also about, start from where you are at, if you feel like you don't have a purpose yet, I'm sure you have one, but, start from your, what do you believe in, what change you want to bring about yourself, and start from then and refine, that's kind of let's say feedback loop we've looked at. It's really about this. It's really about exploring and taking action and discovering, oh, that's something that I'm really kind of digging. I love that. I love the impact I'm having right now. This is something I really want to explore further, right? So, finding purpose is, you got to do. You start with your principles, you start with your beliefs and your values, but you've got to do. You've got to do on the back of that to learn with and to find and to define a bit more what it means and what it is.
And just further elaborating on that a little bit, Alia asks, has your purpose and passion changed throughout your career? And if it does, how do you go about realigning your career path? And further, how do you envision sort of your future? Yeah,
I think, thanks, Alia, for the question. I would say that my purpose, my passion has changed. Yes, has definitely changed. I think I quickly discovered that what I was really interested in is developing products, creating products that have a direct effect on people's transformation. That I didn't want to, it to be indirect, let's say. And I think that's great. There are some products and services that are indirect, but I want to have a direct impact. I don't want to have any intermediary in between. So I think this is one thing that I've learned, but I've learned by doing. I've learned because I've worked in a company where we were doing the other thing. And I actually realized that what really made me feel better and where I felt like I could bring more impact, and I was bringing more impact, was when there was this kind of direct interaction, direct impact with the end user. So that was one thing. And I think realigning your career path is about, checking back in again, like, is this in sync with my values, my beliefs? And if it's not, then, is there a change that I can do? Is it because the company is going in another direction or not? And sometimes it's okay. Sometimes, it's like everything in some partnership, right? Like sometimes the purpose are going to align for sometimes, and sometimes they're not going to align. Sometimes you're going to find actually another company that maybe will have a bigger, better impact, and you can bring something more to that company. So you have to change. So I guess, it's about being conscious and aware as you progress in your career, as to kind of how the company as well is evolving and improving and growing within their own kind of purpose, and seeing, checking back, is that something that I recognize myself, like I used to recognize myself in the beginning, right? And sometimes you're going to arrive at crossroads, and it's going to be time to take, again, decisions and acting on them. Can you stay? Can you readjust within the company? Or do you need to find this somewhere else?
You mentioned in your talk about sort of things falling into place, about how you moved to London. I suppose that has a lot to do with networking, I guess. So we've got a very good question from Vedanti, asking, do you have any advice for networking, and how do you ensure you meet the right people who can help you on your journey?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I have 2 little brothers, and, I keep on telling them one thing is just make sure when you work, when you have an internship, when you have something that you care about, try to connect as much as possible with the people, within those companies. So I don't know, I'm thinking about, let's say you're doing an internship in a company. Like, internship is not about doing just only the job. It's also an opportunity for you to kind of get to know more people within the company, right? And kind of grabbing their time for some time, asking them questions, etc. One thing that I'm seeing a bit, I have to say, like a big difference, especially in the entrepreneur world, the startup world, the tech world, is that we can clearly see this group of young students or young professionals that are doing a bit of the let's say, how do you call, the extra mile. They are stretching themselves by trying to connect with people, are going to be interested in attending events, connecting with people on LinkedIn, reaching out to people on LinkedIn, etc. Like, these are things that you can clearly see a group of people doing that. And these, to me, as I've seen, are people that usually are very, very well then connected further along in their career. So I would definitely think about doing this. You have LinkedIn, you have events, you have the opportunity to reach out to people directly. Don't hesitate. And even if they say no, they say no. What the hell? It's okay. Try. But don't hesitate, because it's also a great opportunity for you to get to know specific industries, specific organizations, specific people. How have they gone where they've gone? Like, how they progressed, and asking them exactly all the questions you've asked me. Like, how did they plan their career? What did they readjust? What mistakes did they do and they wish they didn't do? What tips do they have for you? I'm sure you'll find a lot of people that will be willing to help.
Brilliant. Thanks for answering that. I suppose that my key takeaway from the talk was about bridging, sort of, as you said, these false dichotomies between personal and private. And Ella's asked a really good question, is in that once you've bridged those gaps, how do you balance time between your career and your social life?
Yeah, I think you definitely, balance is such a good word, like in anything, right? Like, we speak about like hyper growth in economy, and now we're speaking about, we need to find balance. And it's the same for us humans. So how do you balance time? I think you gotta, again, like I mentioned in the talk, I said, you've got limited energy. So make sure you're putting it into the things that bring balance to your life. I can tell you one thing, is that when you're betting your energy into one thing, you're gonna get more tired, but eventually you're gonna lose an opportunity to drive impact. And I think this is really important, is that it's not one or the other. Sometimes maybe one thing will be like more than the other for sure. But you've got to know like what are the things that are really kind of gonna be important for you to be as balanced as possible. Because I think as well, like if you want to really drive an impact as an individual in your life, in your career, in an organization, you need to be as balanced as possible. As soon as there is an imbalance, this is where everything breaks. So I'm sorry, I don't have like practical tips, but really, but I would say like, think about like what makes you happy, what makes you happy at work, what gives you inspiration. And like we're seeing that, like sometimes I have to take breaks from work because I'm like, I'm not inspired. And I know that, inspiration is very important for work. So it's good to take breaks. It's good to see other things. It's good not to speak all the time about work, but you gotta find those things that are gonna be really, really important. Soulbytes, for example, for me has been a huge source of inspiration and giving me like a lot of joy.
I mean, the limited energy analogy that you used was really summed up really well for me, and it helps a lot. So I'm just conscious of the time, so I think we're going to take 2 more quick questions
Sure.
and then wrap up. So one more from Louise, I think. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. If you could go back, what would you do anything differently in your career?
If I could go back to anything different in my career, thanks, Louise, for putting me on the spot here. Now, I think one, I would definitely take the time to reflect more while I was studying about what are my beliefs, what are my values, and try to kind of draw that purpose, like what is it that I want to do, and then try to research companies this way or fields that would reflect those personal values and those personal beliefs. So this is something I would definitely redo. Maybe to have like a better understanding as to kind of what's the landscape in front of me and where should I go, right? As I mentioned, like where are people that are trendsetters, that are really kind of pioneering or really having a massive impact. So that's one thing. And I guess the second thing was like, it's difficult. Like I don't regret anything. I think don't have any regrets. Like you're gonna make mistakes, and that's okay. That's completely fine. If you don't do any mistakes before you're 30, that's something that you should definitely start making mistakes. But really, like on this, what I would say is take the time to also reflect on your experiences, on the impact that you have. So take the time to check in. So this is maybe something that I would do more if I could, is really kind of thinking, okay, like in the last 6 months, what have I done? Has this been like driving the impact as I wanted it to be? If not, what can I change? Is there anything I need to change myself or in the company? Think about those things. So make sure you check in as well, because that's going to be really, really important.
Great. You mentioned earlier when we were talking about networking, about internships as brilliant opportunities for networking. Aisha was wondering whether startups tend to offer internships and whether that's a common thing within your realm of profession.
Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of opportunities. I would definitely invite you, if you're in the UK, to download Debut, because I know that they have a lot of opportunities, internship, placements, and also like full-time jobs. So have a look there. And there are quite a few startups. But yes, there are definitely in the startup world a lot of opportunities for people to kickstart their career. And have that experience of very, very fast moving and uncertain businesses.
Sorry, I just realized I was unmuted. Well, thank you so much for answering some of those questions. I'd like to take this opportunity at the end of the talk, since we have to wrap up now, unfortunately, to inform you all who are watching of some of the other events which are happening in the near future, which you wouldn't want to miss out on. So I'll just share my screen now. Share screen. There we go. I hope that's working. So if you are at Sussex University and this talk has inspired you to pursue into entrepreneurship or to sort of get to know the entrepreneurship ecosystem a little more, here are a few further events that you can attend. There's the entrepreneurship aspect of the Sussex Careers Hub, which is very informative. And further, there is the Career Equity Project. So this is accessible on the University of Sussex Students' Union website, and it outlines the project and the aims of the project, as well as a few events which are happening, which, similar to this event, can further inform you. That's great. I'm going to stop sharing now. Also, there are a series of other talks as part of the Make an Impact series. The next one of which is at 4 p.m, which is in an hour, and it will feature Alyssa Roadcup, who's going to be talking about her experiences working with young refugees and how she has created a meaningful impact which reflects her values and her life story. So thank you so much for Stéphane, for that really riveting and insightful talk. I mean, I thought it was great, and judging by the comments, so did a lot of other people. I've also just been asked to share a source, which I'll comment on the Facebook stream. So yeah, thank you so much, Stéphane.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure.
And yeah, thanks everyone for coming. It's great. Oh, the source has been shared in the comments. Great. Thanks a lot.